I think that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 persons are there. Okay, let me
Uh,
complete.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I didn't get any script and PPT, anything related with Aarti. I checked in my drive, but it is not uploaded. So, can you share with me the R3 material?
Okay, Alka. I will
Yes, sir.
see.
Yeah,
Okay, today I will see.
I didn't get from the first day. I mean, I don't have any script or any data.
Okay, I will just see and I just share it to you.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay. Just a moment. I will look at that. Mhm. What's your mail ID, Alka?
Alka Kumari Jadon
Okay, got it. I have not
at the rate gmail.com.
correct. Got it.
Okay, sir.
I just shared it and you will get it. Okay. The
Okay,
mail.
sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me. Okay. So I have shared the so many things in the previous folder. Okay.
In R2 folder.
R3 folder I have shared to you.
Okay, sir.
You will get the mail. I think that you see in the mail.
Yeah, I will check it. Okay, sir.
Okay. Shelly, you have not got the R2. I just see over there also. I just see it. Okay. What's the problem with that? R2. Just a moment. Okay. I remember now. I just share it. Okay, I have shared it, Sally. Okay. So let's continue the session. Uh, Today we are going to start the logistic regression. Okay. Linear we have finished. And so look at here, we are going to start our logistic regression model. And logistic regression analysis studies the association between a categorical dependent variable. There should be a
Sir,
categorical
not
dependent.
able to see the PPT.
Okay, sorry. Just now it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So logistic regression analysis the association between a categorical dependent variable and a set of independent variables. And the target variable should be categorical here. Okay. Here in this session, we study the name logistic regression is used when the dependent variable only has two categories, two values such as 0 and 1. Otherwise, we have a multinomial logistic regression. Okay. So here we study about the binary 0 and 1 only. The name multinomial logistic regression is usually reserved for the case when the dependent variable has 3 or more unique values, such as the married, single, divorced, widowed in this way. Although the type of data used for the dependent variable is different from that of the multiple regression, the practical use of the procedure is similar. Okay. Types of logistic regression, if we talk about, so one is the binary logistic regression. The target variable has only two possible outcomes, such as the spam or not spam, cancer or no cancer. And multinomial logistic regression, the target variable has three or more nominal categories, such as predicting the type of wine. Okay. Ordinal logistic regression, the target variable has three or more ordinal categories, such as the restaurant or product rating from 1 to 5. Okay, so this is the ordinal logistic regression. So here we see this everything is same as we have read in that our linear regression. So I explain you a few things about it. What we get through this, if I draw one line, this is a line. And it is a linear regression line we get. So what would be the, suppose we are writing in this way, y is equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 and so on, and beta k xk. Got it? And this is our predictive, suppose. So what is the domain of this line? Domain, you know that the value of x, what we could input here. It is a linear, it is a straight line. Can somebody tell me the domain of this? Yes. You could take any value on the x-axis or not. Infinite. You could take any value on the x. Because the x-axis is infinite, the line is also infinite. So the domain of this is minus infinite to infinite. X value, we could put any x value. Okay. Domain is the value we put for the x. x1, x2, xk. The value you could put is infinite. Got it? We could put any value. There is no range for that. Got it? Is there any doubt? Okay. And for y, this is our y-axis. So what value we could get for the y? That is a range. We could get minus infinite to infinite also here. Got it? Okay. So we have domain is minus infinite to infinite, and range is also minus infinite to infinite. Got it? So when you do the computation of this, you will get the numeric value always here, which would be a real number. Does that make sense to everyone? But in logistic regression, we require the value zero and one only. Does that make sense to everyone? But what formula we are using for logistic regression, what equation we are using for logistic regression is this, or we get the numeric value. So how we could convert this value and 0 and 1? Okay, so I will tell you about that. I will go from this stage. Here we are getting the range 0 and 1. I want this. And if I take the p values, the probability. So probability belongs to what? Where does it lie? Probability. Yeah. Can somebody explain?
0 to 1.
0 and 1. Correct. 0 to 1. So 0 to 1. Here we were getting only two values, 0 and 1. We required this thing. I am going reverse. And if we take the probability of these values, what is the probability of this? We see all the observations and whatever the numeric value we have got, we see the probability of that. How many times this number came in that data set and what are the total number of observation. We get the probability in this way. Okay. Any doubt? Yes. But I want to approach here. So I could substitute this cap y with that particular thing. Now I want to do one thing, p over 1 minus p. This will belong to what? If I put p0, what I get? 0. What do you say? If I write 1, maximum value of p, what I get?
Infinite.
Infinite. So I have increased the range from 0 and 1 to 0 to 1 and 0 to infinite. Got it? Now I have to go on the left side of 0, minus infinite to 0. So what I will do, I will take the log of this. And I will range. Got it? Any doubt now? Okay. So here I am getting minus infinite to infinite. So I could write that instead of y cap or not. And what happens? I get the value of y cap. What I do? I write this log p over 1 minus p is equal to y. Base is e. So it will be e power y p over 1 minus p. Got it? Okay. And e is a constant 2.7 something. And y cap we are also getting a value, constant value through the equation. So e to the power y cap we could write that c, some constant. So c is equal to p over 1 minus p. Now we multiply, cross multiply it, and I do it. Got it? In this way, we could get the value of e to the power y cap over 1 plus e to the power y cap, sorry, is equal to p. Is there any doubt to anyone? Yes. instead of y cap, I get the p values for each observation. What is the probability of that particular value? And when I get the p values, then what I do, I just change the size of this. Then what I do, write here the probability. Got it? These are other observations which are providing us the values. So I am writing the observation as a n1 observation, n2 observation. Got it? N3. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. In this way, I have so many observations. So first observation, I get the value this. Second observation, I get the probability this. Third observation, I get the probability this. Fourth observation, I get the probability this. Fifth observation, I get the probability this. And the sixth observation, I get the probability somewhere here. Got it? So these are the probability I am getting. And then I decide the cutoff, or we could say the threshold. We said one threshold or the cutoff. Suppose I set a threshold 0.4. So the value which is less than 0.4 or equal to 4 will convert to 0. It means this 0.3 would be will be treated as a 0, and this will be treated as 1 or probability. This will 0, 4 will 0, this will 1, and this will 1. Got it? Any doubt? Yes. So when we have a formula of GLM model, we use in the linear model, we use the LM. Here we use the GLM model, and there is one attribute which is the response, and the response attribute we use, then it provide us p value instead of y. Instead of numeric, it provides us the probability. And after that, after getting this probability, then we decide the threshold. Now there is a procedure to decide the threshold. Okay. And as per that, we decide whether we up to which probability would be 0 and which would be 1. Is there any doubt in this whole concept of logistic regression? Yes. Anyone has any doubt? No. So it is called the logistic regression. There are two reasons. One reason is that we take the log. You have seen, we have taken the log here. So it is called the logistic regression. Or second thing is that we generally use for the binomial, binary, 0 and 1. So it is logistic, true and false, logical. So that it is called logistic regression. Any doubt now?
Sir, I have a doubt.
Hmm.
Sir, in case of multinomial, how that graph would look like? I mean, the previous
There.
explanation. Yeah, here.
Then we have to set another threshold for that category.
Okay.
This is between the value between this and this probability would be and this. Understand?
Right.
And the above this would be this category and the below this would be this category.
Okay.
We have to set two, three sold if you have three categories. If you have four categories, then you require three threshold.
Three threshold.
Yeah.
Right.
So in spite of that, we use better to use the SVM, support vector machine, because random forest is not interpretable. You know that. Random forest of the decision tree is little bit, but random forest is not interpretable because it is the whole the procedure is the random. Whatever the process run inside the model is a random process. Got it? So there is no mathematical explanation about it. Rigid. Understand? As you know, in the linear regression, we have seen in the last few days, I have taught you in the linear regression. But there is everything, the mathematical concept behind that. Some statistical concept behind that. We are not taking anything randomly.
Okay.
Got it? Inside the model. And a partition is a different thing. That is the outer part of that. That is a data part. But here in the random forest model, there is the model is itself random. Because you are making 500 trees in default, or every tree you are giving out of 10,000 observation you have, so you are giving the randomly 2,000 observation to one tree, and the tree is making duplicating of that and making the 10,000 observation, converting them 2,000 into 10,000 observation for the whole growth, complete growth. It is a randomized basically. Randomly you are selecting the observation.
Right.
For 500 trees, and randomly you are selecting the variables also. We don't do the as per the in the decision tree is more scientific,
Right.
than random forest. There is only one tree, so you have to follow the rules and regulations of the statistics and the mathematics.
Right.
But here in the random forest, there is randomly you are choosing four variables, and then you are calculating the entropy or the gene index, whatever the measurement, what we have to consider first. Then you are applying the mathematics or the statistics over there.
Right.
But you have selected the four variables randomly. There you have not taken any mathematical calculation for selecting the four variables for one tree. And then again for a second tree, you are again randomly selecting four variables. Does that make sense to you? So random forest, most of the scientists always deny.
Right.
Don't go through the random forest. The random word is very, very crucial there. Randomize, you could not make it. Next time you make a model, you will get the different model
Right.
if you don't take the set seed. Okay, but here we don't have to need the set seed in the linear model, in the logistic model, and the SVM.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I just explain more thing in the PPT. This you got. This what I have explained. Everything is here in this slide. So I will not explain this slide now. Okay. And this is the dead thing what I have told you about the threshold of the probability. Now this is very important thing in the logistic regression. As the linear regression, we see the performance through the RMSE or the R square. Okay. But here in the classification model, we require the confusion matrix. Okay. So in the confusion matrix, I will tell you the thing you see this table. There is a predictive value. This is the Y cap. This is the Y cap. It is a Y cap. Or it is the actual Y. I take the color, different color, so to see it better. It is the actual Y. Got it? This one is Y cap. And this is yes and no. This is yes and no. So your predicted value, predicted value, the predictive model says it is yes, it is 1 as per your threshold. You have decided the threshold, then you are getting 0 and 1. Okay. So your predictive model says it is 1 and actual value is also 1. Got it? That is also 1. So you are telling it is positive. It is positive. And actually it is also positive. So it is your true positive. Got it? What does it mean by true positive? Got it? Your predicted positive is actual. It is also positive. So it is a true positive. Correct? Your prediction says no. And actually it is positive. So your negative prediction is false. Got it? So it is false negative. Does that make sense to everyone? And the total positive actual values are P. Total actual values are denoted by P. We are denoting here by P. We will get the frequency or this of them. It is a confusion matrix. It is a table like. And your model says it is positive, but actually it is not positive. It is negative. No. So here positive prediction is wrong now. So it is false positive. Similarly, your prediction says it is negative and actually it is also negative. So it is the true negative prediction here. The total negatives are n. Does that make sense to everyone? Is there any doubt in this confusion matrix? Okay, everything is based on this confusion matrix in the logistic regression or in the classification model, whatever you will learn later on. Yes. Got it, everyone? Please respond fast so we could go fast. Okay, if you don't reply, then I will wait for the reply, then I go further. Okay. Now here, how we measure the accuracy? In the linear regression, we were working about the R square, no? And we are working about the RMAC, which by which we could see the performance of our model, measure the performance of our model. Here, for measuring the performance of model is the accuracy or the misclassification error. So what is accuracy? Accuracy is your true positive and true negative, which are the correct prediction, and divided by the total. Okay. And misclassification is just opposite of it. Your false prediction divided by total. So we could say the accuracy plus misclassification error is equal to 1. So if you have the accuracy, you could find out the misclassification. If you have the misclassification, you could find out the accuracy through this formula. Got it? Any doubt?
So,
Yes.
so that total P and N, you said because it is true positive, that's why it is positive total, is it?
It is the true actual what have in the data set, positive values.
So similarly
One.
goes for N.
These are the one, how many ones we have in the actual data set. And these are the 0 which we have in our data set. How many zeros are there?
Okay.
Okay, yes and no, we could say 0 and 1. Correct?
Yeah.
This is the one measure, accuracy of misclassification. It is a one measure. Then we also see
Classification error. Can you once again repeat?
classification error is a misclassification error, not a classification. Misclassification error. That is the opposite of accuracy. In accuracy, you are adding TP plus TN divided by total. In the misclassification error, you are adding FP plus FN divided by total. Okay.
Okay, sir.
What your model is telling wrong is the misclassification or not? Is there some kind of error? So that error is called misclassification error. It is predicting false. In this proportion, it is predicting false. It is the false positive or the false negative. Correct?
Got it, sir.
Okay. Now the sensitivity is very, very important. We don't have to take the decision only on the accuracy basis. We have to consider the sensitivity and the specificity. That is also very important. Sensitivity is the ability of the model to capture all positive. So how you could get the ability of model to capture the all positive? So you will divide the true positive by positives, by actual positives. So scientist sensitivity is the TP over P. Got it? True positive over positive. This is the actual positive. This is the true positive, which our model predicted positive. And that is actually positive. Got it? Our model predicted positive is this. Here it will come. Predicted positive. But whatever the true positive and the actual positive ratio is called sensitivity. Does that make sense to everyone? Correct. Now the specificity. Specificity, ability to model to capture all negatives. So all negatives Tn over N. True negatives over negatives. Got it? Sometimes what happens, your sensitivity of the model is good. It is predicting one in a very, one it is predicting in a good ratio. But 0 it is not predicting in a good ratio. And accuracy is only accuracy is for total. So we have to see our model ability to capture all positive is how much and the ability to capture all negatives is how much. Both should be near to each other. I will explain you what would be the range of. Range would be always 0 and 1 between. Accuracy, misclassification, sensitivity, specificity. These are all ratio. And the range would be 0 and 1, between 0 and 1. Does that make sense to everyone? No, I'll tell you later on a few more things.
Sir, in the case of linear regression, we will take R square 0.7 and above, right?
Yeah.
For in the case of logistic, for accuracy, what is there any value for that?
Accuracy, we see the model is highest accuracy is 1. 1 is not possible anytime. Accuracy 1 is not possible. It may be 0.8, 0.9, 0.82, 0.83 in this way. Okay. If it is more than 50%, then the model is good. We try to increase that accuracy through when we get the more data and we retrain the model in this way. First, we start with more than 50% of accuracy. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Then we improve the accuracy by the time, and we and here I give one more idea. It's the that if somehow we have two conditions I am showing you. One, we have our model has not predicted any negative. This is the extreme condition. Our model has not predicted any negative. Then our sensitivity would be TP over P. So TP plus Fn is equal to P. You know that. So Fn is 0. So TP is equal to P. So you could write TP over TP or the P over P, which is 1. The sensitivity you will get 1. Got it? Does that make sense to everyone? Yes. Okay, so we get it 1. And what about the specificity? So Tn is 0 because our model has not predicted any negative value. So there is no possibility of true negative. So Tn over n. Tn is 0 and n is equal to ft, or you could write the n also there. So it would be 0. Your model sensitivity is highest and your specificity is 0. So this kind of model is our bad model. Is a bad model. The second thing, if our model does not predict any positive, then the sensitivity would be 0 and the specificity would be 1. So this model is also not good. Ideal model when both sensitivity and specificity are 1. That is ideal model, I am telling. It is not possible. Means both sensitivity and specificity should near to 1. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes. Now, I have taken 2 more example. You look at this table and see whether it is correct or not. I just take a break for 5 minutes. I have some work and then we continue it. Okay. So you look at this table, which is on your screen, and you try to understand. First, you see this one, and this one calculation is here. And I explain you, this is the actual yes, and this is the actual no. So first cutoff you are taking for this. So whatever the values above this cutoff are positive for prediction. And green are the actual positive, true positive, and red are false positive because it is above. Similarly, in the downward of this. So here you see in the first figure, if you see there are how many values are positive, predicted positive, actual positive. If we see, so how many actual positive? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Total 10 actual positive we have. How many actual negative? We see the red one. 7 are this. Okay. And we see the how many for this cutoff one, how many predicted positive we are getting. So whatever the value this cutoff, above this cutoff are all positive, we count. But if we see the true positive, which how many are green there? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is the true positive. Okay. And how many are our true false positive? So false positive, the above it, whatever the red is the false positive. You are telling it is positive because it is the above cutoff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 are the false positive. Okay. Similarly, for the negative you see on the downward of this. So how many false negative? The red one is the true negative. So red one is the true negative, which is actually negative, and you also say it is negative. That is only one. And how many is the false negative? So you will see this is the false negative. Got it? Is there any doubt? So we calculate it. Calculate first the accuracy. Accuracy is the 10. 9 plus 1 is 10. Ten divided by 17. So that is 0.58. And if you see the sensitivity TP over P, so 9 by 10, 0.9. Specificity is 1 by 7, that is 0.143. So here you see the accuracy is 58%, but our sensitivity is 90%. The specificity is only 1.4%, we could say. So I take another cutoff. So in this cutoff, you see how many true positive are there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the true positive. And false positive 1, 2, 3, 4. And the true negative. So 1, 2, 3. True negative, and the false negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here we calculate the accuracy is 0.47, but the sensitivity is 0.5 and the specificity 0.49. So which model you would prefer? Which cutoff you would prefer? Cutoff 1 or cutoff 2? Yes. 1. Why? Sally?
So because it is giving a higher accuracy.
But what I have explained you in the previous slide, there should be minimum difference between sensitivity and the specificity.
Yeah.
You have to consider that also, no?
Yeah. Okay.
So what model you would prefer?
Second.
So second cutoff, sir.
Yes.
Second cutoff. Correct.
Sir, but I have one doubt. How to decide this cutoff, sir?
That I will explain.
Okay.
First, we see how we get through this confusion matrix. We try to understand this confusion matrix because it's create confusion. One of the thing we have this Kolmogorov-Smirnov statistics. Okay. Through this case value, we could select the cutoff. Where the K is higher, that cutoff value select. Got it? That is the TP over P. That is the sensitivity, and FP over N is not a specificity. It is a 1 minus specificity. Is it clear? So I will explain later on this. So this is the case value, we could decide it. Got? Wherever the K is higher, we select that cutoff. So the Kolmogorov instrument studies when you used to measure the decrementary power of the scorecard, looks at how the distribution of the score differs among goods and bads. The Kolmogorov stat measures the maximum point of separation between the CDF of two distribution, cumulative distribution of frequency, and she graphs below. So in this way. So this is the maximum difference. It will show that is the case. The maximum difference in what? Not in the sensitivity or the specificity. Sensitivity minus 1 minus specificity. Does that make sense to everyone?
Okay, sir.
So that is the measure we use. And everything is same in the as we do in linear. So we start with logistic now. This one. So let's continue. We have a data set here, existing base.csv. You see here in this file. So I don't have to set my working directory because it is already here in this folder in this project. So I will just read it. That is the RG I have given. And there are 10,155 observation and 32 variables. So I will show you first view it. This is the reference number of children, and age when, status, partner, single, never married, occupation, partner occupation, home status, family income, self-employed, and the self-employed partner. These are the binary, self-employed yes and no, binary, and the year last move, where the company is moving from the company, last company, and TV area, postcode, post area, and average credit card transaction, monthly, balance transfer, term deposit, life insurance, medical insurance, average AC balance, account balance, personal loan, investment in mutual fund, investment tax saving bond, home loan, online purchase amount, revenue grade, gender, region, investment in community, investment in equity, commodity, sorry, not community, investment in commodity, gold, and this sort of that, the where the commodity market is there, investment in equity, investment in derivative, portfolio balance. So this we are getting, and our target variable is revenue grid. Revenue grid is what? It is a kind of model where the person who is able to purchase your product, or person who is able to invest in your policy or whatever bonds you are going to sell, whatever thing. So that is the revenue grid. 1 and 2 is given to us. Revenue grid. The capable to invest in this sort of thing. So they have got the data of some other company of the persons, and they have the product, similar kind of product maybe, and by that they want to create a model of logistic regression. And after creating this sort of model, they have extra data of so many clients, they have purchased from somewhere or whatever, or they will feed that data in this model, and they will decide to whom we have to approach, to whom we don't have to approach. Because suppose they have collected 10 lakhs persons data, customers data from some company, and if they call everyone, and if their representative approach everyone, so it will cost very high. So they decided so they filter it first through the model, and they get some data of the customers who are really able to purchase the goods or the policy, whatever, and they approach only those clients. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes.
Sir, 1 is not purchased and 2 is purchased.
This we have to check.
Okay.
This we have to check with what is the yes and what is the no.
Okay.
So I have intentionally put 1 and 2 instead of 0 and 1. Okay. Or we see how we could check it. I'm using the dplyr function, and I will see the glimpse, or I could see the structure also. So this is my data. There is a character, number of children, and this is also character, this character. So there are so many columns I have. And I will see the revenue grid. And there is a target variable, 1 and 2, you know that. So you see 1 is 1086 and 2 is 9069. So which should be yes or which should be 0? Can someone tell me now?
I think one
One is
purchased.
yes. Okay. 1 is yes and 2 is no. Because the very few purchase which purchase something in sort of this sort of revenue grid. So this would be our actual one later on, or this will convert in 0. Got it? We will convert 2 in 0, which is no. So what we are doing? RG revenue grid s dot numeric revenue grid equal to 1. Okay. And 0. So other are 0, and revenue grid equal to 1 would be 1, and other would be 0. Got it? So this I am giving, and I do it. I have not taken any conditional statement. I could use that also, but I have not used it. So I will show you the table again. Got it? The same thing. 1086 is 1 here again, and the 9069 is 0. Does that make sense to everyone? No? Okay. See. Now we see, we process this data, and I will share this to you. Okay. So I will not explain this all thing. You run it and understand this. Few I will explain you only, 1 or 2 things. And we see the children, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 plus and 0. And I just run this and I do it for the children. And age band, I see age band, we know that we have done the earlier also, that value we have got FICO range, just like FICO range, I have done it. And status is we have taken the dummy values, and this I will tell you, that is the mean technique I explained you about the encoding, target encoding, or the proportion encoding, or the mean encoding it is called. So what we do here, we take a proportion table of occupation and the target variable, whatever the variable you want to do, one hot encoding, you will put it, and with the target variable. And this one is for the I want the proportion row wise, and these are the 2 decimal places. I am rounding it off. So when I explain, you will see it here. Are you getting this table? So we know that here, if I show you what I have selected, business manager and professional. So business manager is 0.88. Any one you could choose, either this or this. So I am choosing this one, 0.88. And here you see the 0.88 where I am getting the professional. These two. So these two are reacting same with the target variable. Okay, response same with the target variable. So this we consider in a one group, that is called the occupation underscore business manager professional. And this is occupation underscore business professional. So s dot numeric occupation percent, because more than one I will use the percent. So this one I will get wherever the business manager, it will be 1, or the professional, it will be 1, and other where it will be 0. Similarly, for the retired, you know that I have only 1.90. So I have taken the retired, and housewife is you see 0.91. Other are 0.89. You see here. So I have taken them as a base category, and there is no hard and fast rule to which you could use as base category. Does that make sense to everyone?
So this is target encoding, right?
A target encoding. Okay. So this we have used in so many variables here. Okay. So this I want to show you only, and I run it, and occupation partner, I have also done the same thing. So I just run this. You will see there, and the home status I have done. And here what I am doing, I have taken the proportion table, but I have not used that, I think. And I have taken the, yes, I have used that. As per the proportion, I have taken these, also consider this all things. F1, the family income 1, 2, 3, 4, I have taken this category, and this class, whatever the given they have. So, and then I have used self-employed, yes, as dot numeric, yes, and these are the yes and no, so I am converting them in numeric only, and the previous one I am deleting, and the postcode extract I am deleting from my data. I am not including these all. These are not important variable. This is the feature selection I have applied here, and here if you see this table, I will show you there is a 0. So there is a 1901, 1902 in this way, the year is given, but not year last moved 0. I am filtering it. I am not including it. Okay. So you see there are, we have RG, how many observations are there. I have not run it properly. I think that one of the, I have to run it again. Okay, just I do it. I see what happens. I have not run it properly because the one I am getting the G, it is not G, it is RG. Where is that column? I will see it at where I did the mistake. I did the mistake here. Now it's okay. Then I have to run again and again this one. Now I will show you the glimpse. Look at here. Now we have all the variables are double, means numeric. Okay. We have done this. We have 40 variables now. Okay. And I divide these in two parts. And I am using the car library for VIF. First, I will do the VIF with LM model. Later, I will apply the GLM. Okay, not the VIF, I will use that. So it is the revenue grid, tilde dot, reference number I am not including. That is the identification, and the data is RG train. And I will sort it. So that is, I am investment in community. So I am running this. Then I sort investment derivative, run this. I am getting investment equity. And then I am getting gender M. Okay. And then I am getting his own. And then I am getting FI3. Then I am getting portfolio balance. And this is now under control. Okay. Now what I am doing, I am making a RG fit data frame, removing these all variables. Okay, what I have removed here with the reference number also. I will show you the name in this. So there are 32 variables I have at present, and I will take I create a GLM model now for this. So revenue grid, there is no reference number, so I will not deduct it, subtract it, sorry. And family is binomial. Binomials family I am taking, and the data is RG fit. This data I am taking, and I run it, and so binomials it will fit it with the GLM generalized linear model. Generalized linear model. Okay. Binomial will provide us the output in a probability. Okay, 0 to 1. I will show you the summary of this. So this is the summary. You see there are so many variables which are more than 0.05. So it is very difficult to select one by one and do it. So I will use the AIC. Okay. So for AIC, I have a step function. I will apply this step function on this model, and that model, final model, I will get in a fit. Okay. Fit underscore step I am using in the step function. It will take little time. So wait here for 5 minutes. So I will tell you a little bit about this. The AIC value is I have explained the formula in that PPT. So it will always decrease 0.52.0 2052.26, then 2051.8, 2051.58 in this way. So this is the last one. Here they have eliminated the few variables. So this we got finally. We copy this from here and we paste here. Got it? You see the average credit first and the gender F. So I will show you here. Average credit children, then average credit is here. Children, tilde children. Okay, here is the children is there. Children. And the gender F. Children is there. I think that children, we have that column. FG step. Just give me a minute. See it. RG fit we have taken. Okay, children is there. Children is there. Correct. So children is here. We have in this children. I have not taken the last time, but here I am taking here. Later on, it will be removed if possible. So I just paste here from here to. I just this is my last one. I just copy this and I will paste here up to here. And the data is now I will take this in the data. You know that I will change the data now. I will change the data again, RG underscore trend, the previous one where I will get that. And the families binomial I will write. And I again run this GLM. Okay. And now I will see the fit summary. Now I have very few variables where the p value is greater than that. So you see the 1097 and 1475. So 1475 is the FI2, family income 2. So I will remove the family income 2 from here. And this I have taken, and this is the family income 2 I am going to remove from here. Got it? It is the highest one now. Family income 2, 1475. And then the 1353. Then we have one more 1097. So I remove this. So what I do, I copy paste this again. Now the whole thing I copy paste, otherwise the previous I have copy paste. So we may get some difficulty over there. And then I remove it. I remove that family income 2. Family income 2. Yes. I remove this. Got it? And I run it. And then I again see the summary. Now I get 1198 1424. So it is the OCBM proof. So I will see because what I have done, sometimes I use the same one. I don't copy and paste most of the time. So this time I'm copy and pasting. And here OCCBM proof. This I did it from here. And I run it and I see the summary. Now I am getting the whole thing is okay. There is a dot. I don't want to remove the dot. Got it? So these variables I have now. And I will see the formula fit. So this is my formula fit. And now I want the prediction through the trend data itself. Okay, the type would be response. Response will provide me the response in a probability format. Okay, so I am taking a new column score there in that data frame, RG underscore trend. So I will show you the head of revenue grid. The 6 observation all are null. And here is the score. I want to see what are the probabilities I am getting here. So I am getting the very small probability over there, less than 0.1. So it is, I think that it is okay. There is no higher probability we could misclassify this. Okay. Is it clear to all? Yes. There is a small probability near to 0. And the actual it is 0. Is it clear to all? So what I do, this is some idea I have got. Oh, it is only for the 6 observation, but I have got the idea little bit. But I will get some more plot I am making here. I will show you. This plot is very, very important. And we see we have the 2 plots. Anyone you could take, either this or this. The vertical or horizontal problem is there. You see, this is the plot. This is the score. Score what we have got. This is the predicted. Here we have the predicted line. So here what I have taken, the geom point is not compulsory. I will remove it. Okay. But this I have mentioned only for that purpose. We see it is a 1 and it is a 0 for mentioning this. If I don't use it, it is okay. So if I run this now, you will see I will get in this way. So this is the actual plot. Here you see the score, what I am getting through my model on this is the 0. The 0 score, I am getting most of the value near to 0. What it? My good model. My prediction, my probability is near to 0. I have jittered it. What it? And in the 1, I most of the thing I am getting also with 1, but it is not giving me the this in a good way. It is spread it too much whole the here also, but here it is okay. My negative prediction is very good. Getting it? Positive is not good. Can somebody tell me the reason? I have not taken the cutoff up to now. It is without cutoff. I am only getting the probability. Probability for negative, I am getting the good probability, which are very near to 0. But for higher side probability, I am getting all over spread. Can somebody tell me the reason? Why it is?
Maybe because zeros and ones is very low. The number of samples is very low.
You are very near to that. Very near to that. The proportion is of 1 is very less. You could say that.
Yes, sir, correct.
Rather than 0. Okay. So if we see the proportion of 1, what is the observation we have in the training 7035? And if I see the table, I will show you the table on the here. RG underscore trend dollar revenue grid. You will see we are having only 768. Or if I see the whole proportion of this positive, so 768 divided by how many I have? 7035. 7035. This is only 10%. Got it? Okay. Does that make sense to everyone? is the reason we are not getting properly the 1, this probability for 1? We are not getting. It should be dense here on the right side, higher side, the 1 frequency where it is 1. It should be higher here. Dense should be here, and the here should be very low. As you see here, it is the at the 0 because it is the 0. Actual 0 is this, and our probability is also belongs to 0 is higher. Near to 0 is higher. So it is good, but here it is not working properly. So what we should do for this sort of data? Next process is to take the cutoff after that. And we see how to get the cutoff, the case value we measure, and we see the cutoff. But before that, can we do something with the data?
Can we bootstrap?
Yeah, we could bootstrap it. It means what we do, it is an imbalanced data basically. Okay. So we bootstrap it and we balance the data. And that I will tell you tomorrow. First we balance the data and then we take the first week. You understand up to here, na? We don't have to go further for this all. First we balance the data, then we do this all thing. Okay. So that is the thing. When we come here, this graph is very, very important. Okay. There is no hard and fast graph name. We just use this ggplot and you run it, and you have to put the revenue as a factor, grid as a factor. Okay. And it's very simple graph, and we make it do it this way. So tomorrow we see how to balance the data. What are the methods of balancing the data, and how methods, not the technique and the methods, both we see over there. Yes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Sir, in between you mentioned about target encoding. So I did not get that point. How it is helpful in our analysis, target encoding.
We just see the variable which we are going to categorical variable which we are going to convert in a dummy. Okay. So that variable we compare with our target variable. So how their contribution, how their contribution is there of that particular variable with target variable. So we are checking the proportion of their contribution. Got it?
But,
yes and no, we have seen the contribution.
But what is the use of grouping those variable based on the proportions?
We are reducing the categories.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have to take the 11 dummy variables.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Okay.
So we have grouped that. So we are getting only 2 or 3 group dummy variables.
Got it. Got it.
That is the reason we are doing that.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have to take so many. Suppose we have 15 categories and you perform this target encoding. Okay.
Understood.
And then you reduce the categories. Okay. So we are
Yes.
just reducing the categories through this.
Yes. Got it.
Okay. So tomorrow we see more about it. Okay. How to control the imbalanced data, and then we again perform the task. Got it?
Thank you, sir.
To get the script, you could get the script from the internet also. But the main thing is the process. Understand? How we perform it, where we get this sort of result, what we have to do, what decision we have to take. That is very important. Okay. So today it is okay, and we good night for today.
Good night, sir.
Okay.